Yo guys, welcome back to my channel. If you've not done already, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've not done it already. Today we're talking about Lyndon Arthur versus Anthony Yarde 2, the rematch. Listen, the first fight, it was a tense first fight. Look, everyone knows this, I'm a huge Anthony Yarde fan, and I really wanted him to win the first fight, and overall, I had it a draw the first fight. Okay, I was scoring it each round, but it was very technical because some of the rounds were extremely close. So I was just like on the fence, and I was like, you know what? Overall, I ended up giving it a draw. Lyndon ended up winning. I weren't really too mad at it because if I had to sway one way or the other, I would have swayed more so to Lyndon Arthur. Anyway, 1 year on. This is a huge fight but to be fair, for both fighters, because I think a lot more is at stake. I think Lyndon is number one in the WBO. So whoever wins this has an opportunity after this, within 1 or 2 fights, to fight for a world title. So this is extremely important for both fighters to win, and I'm going to talk about in this video how Anthony could win, how Lyndon could win, the strengths and weaknesses of both fighters, etc. And then we're going to talk about just sort of general overall about this fight. Alright, boom. Let's start off with the challenger. Let's start off with Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde, first fight, could have been a lot better, man. Could have been a lot better. Now, let me just paint the picture. The first fight, and the circumstances of the first fight was that it was during a COVID environment, whereby there was no fans, so he was fighting it within a BT studio with pretty much nobody there apart from him and his team, okay, and just production. Them, like, yeah, and he had Sonny Edwards at the back cheering for Lyndon Arthur, okay, but we'll talk about that after. He also around that period of time lost, I think, around 4 family members and relatives, which meant that I'm not 100% sure whether he was in the mind frame necessary to compete at a high level within the sport. And I think, in hindsight, is the best thing. Potentially, it would have been better for him to take a longer break and, fight a tougher competition within the years to come, because that's a lot, man. 4 family members passing away, that's extremely a lot, especially for a young guy. I think he's just in his late 20s. It is a lot. Coming into the fight, he looked fit, he looked strong, but Lyndon Arthur, and what he was doing wrong with Anthony, look, this is what Anthony was doing wrong. He was overthinking in that fight. A bit like Joshua, right? He was overthinking in that fight. Lyndon was doing certain things and he was reacting to it. He was almost reacting to every single thing that Lyndon did. Lyndon was flinching a lot, etc. And that kind of puzzled him for quite some period of time. Ultimately, the downfall is that he didn't, number one, he didn't go for it. He wanted that perfect moment, that perfect time, the window of opportunity for him to strike, for him to use his shot and put his work together. But he didn't find it. And in 12th round, he said, you know what, F it, yeah, we're just going to go for it. And when he did that, damage was caused to Lyndon Arthur. Extreme damage was caused to Lyndon Arthur. You know what? If he had done that for at least 2 or 3 rounds, he could have got him out there. Personally, in my opinion, I think he could have got him out there. But he didn't, okay? Could that have been because of the advice from the corner team? 10 days afterwards came out and, said that he did tell Lyndon to step it up around, I think it was around 7 to around 9. I'm not sure the specific rounds, but it was around that period of time, told him to step it up. He didn't really step it up. When it comes to corner teams as well, you can only tell somebody what to do, and if they don't listen, you can't really do much at the same time, okay? What would have helped, to be fair, is if they had a scoreboard like there, or some sort of way to understand what if they're losing or if they're winning, because this kind of stuff has been going on for a long time, and I've been thinking, if they tell you the scores after each round and if a fighter's winning, fighter's losing, that could really adjust the situation. Like in a football match, if a team is down 2-1 and it's about 10 minutes to go, the losing team may bring on a striker. But if they didn't know the score, well, it's a weird example, but if they didn't even have an idea of who's winning or who's losing, then they wouldn't adjust to potentially even win the game. And in boxing, you find that people think they're winning, but when they get to the end, they're like, "Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't think so." Lyndon Arthur could have won most of the rounds and could have decided to be defensive. And to the other could have been losing most of the fight and could have said, "You know what, we're going to go for it." But he thought he was winning, and that's why he didn't do it. But that's neither here or there. I think Anthony is, after a year on, I'm pretty confident that we're looking at a much better Yarde than he was the year beforehand. Okay, good things where he did is hooks to the body, and sort of not letting Lyndon really affect him. He didn't really get extremely scored by Lyndon. He was still competitive in the fight. Okay, and then just sort of general weaknesses is that the jab. I don't. Lyndon's got a good jab, but I personally, I just think I want to see Anthony overcome a good jab, and if he does overcome a good jab, wow, he's a lethal fighter, because that is the one key. A jab sets off all of the other shots, and if you can stop that one component of every shot, that one component, wow, the world's your oyster in the sport of boxing. Okay, now moving on to Lyndon Arthur. I think, look, Lyndon Arthur, the first fight, how he won was through, I'm going to say it straight, I just think he was ambiguous in that first fight, and that's what caused Anthony Yarde's hefty amount of confusion. Lyndon Arthur, and personally, it's because of two reasons. It's because of the circumstance, and it's because of his skill. Okay, and when I mean by circumstance, that his right hand was injured. Okay, and that meant that he was a little bit more defensive, and he was a little bit more tight. Okay, and all he was doing was just jabbing. He was just jabbing, and he wasn't jabbing from the shoulder. He was jabbing from the hip. Okay, so he was just like very, very much twitchy, fainting a lot. Whereas when that Anthony was just all over the place mentally, he was looking at it thinking, "Wow, like, where do I hit it? What do I do?" But the circumstances is that if he had the right hand, some people say, "Yeah, but he beat you with one hand." If he had the right hand, I think it would have been more of a detriment to Lyndon, because sometimes when you've got one method, one direction of attack, that could a simplified attack could be sometimes the more effective attack. If you've got more added stuff to your arsenal, it's not always the thing is that you're going to be a better fighter. And what happens with Lyndon Arthur? Lyndon Arthur was very much twitchy and jab. As soon as Yarde came close, he just used that right hand, and he used it in certain circumstances to demonstrate that right hand is still functioning. So when Tunde Nimla was thinking, is this guy actually injured? Because the reason why they were thinking that is because he was using the right hand, but he used it very, very occasionally. Lyndon, and for that way, I think, and also his IQ, and that's what got him the win in the first fight. Okay, and he's just done a little just to win those close rounds. He's done a little bit more to win those close rounds. Okay, he also done a lot to frazzle Anthony Yarde and being a bit more hypnotic against Anthony Yarde. Okay, very, very good fighter. So this fight, I think Lyndon's got two hands. Hopefully he's got two hands. Okay, Yarde's got two hands, and I would have hoped that their head would have been a lot clearer. I think this is going to be a great fight. I think this is going to be potentially the fight of the year. I really do. Something tells me this is going to be fight of the year. This year has been a year of upset, so definitely this is going to be one of the best fights going forward. But And with regards to this general prediction, okay, a lot of people are asking me, what's your prediction? What's your prediction? I did promise Trav that I weren't going to do a prediction just for this fight. Just for this fight, okay? But overall, I do think that it's going to be a cracking fight. Both fighters could win. Some people are underestimating Linden's power. And this is another thing. I don't know how powerful Linden Arthur's right hand is. That's going to be very telling. And also Linden Arthur's last fight, defensively he weren't all good, and that's when he had two hands. So this is what leads me to believe that defensively Linden needs to do very similar things to his first fight, but use that right hand a little bit more, use his footwork a little bit more, and that's how he would win. Anthony, if he wants to win, he needs to step up the gas a lot sooner.